Our next series is bringing light to the dentistry industry. We have an amazing leader that's doing work in Cedar Hill, Texas, and is advocating to fill the gaps and disparities in her community. I can't wait for you to hear her story. It's inspiring and motivating, and I hope that it shares light to the work that she's doing in Cedar Hill, Texas. So we're starting another show, and you are my invited guest. Today, I'm just honored to have Miss Candace Brown Evans.
Yes.
And to talk about our teeth. Isn't that amazing? It's amazing that when you think of Black health and wellness, that teeth, hair, everything else is not just the medical system itself as an institution, but a conversation about who you are, what you're doing, and the health that's in our mouth, right?
That's right.
But also the benefits of it, but also what we're not receiving and what our communities are not receiving.
Yeah,
So are you ready to dive in?
Let's do it. I'm ready.
Awesome. Tell me again the name of your actual office so people know where to find you if they need to connect with you after this conversation.
Yes, ma'am. So my practice is located in Cedar Hill, Texas. It's a southern suburb of Dallas. It's called Fresh Dentistry by Candace. It's a general practice. We service adults and children, some of them. But we do all general cleanings, whitening, extractions, fillings, crowns, all of the sorts. And if you need specialty care, we'll great stop for you to stop here, and then we refer out. So yes, I've been practicing almost 10 years now, and I've had my own personal practice, about 4 years.
So you were super young.
Yes, exactly.
I love it. It was so interesting, and I'm so glad that I was introduced to you by one of our other speakers because I know everyone's dying to know, like, how did this amazing, beautiful Black woman get into dentistry? I want to know what inspired you. Did you know when you were little?
Yeah, no. I actually, ironically enough, needed a lot of dental work myself. I was a very loved child, and I was very spoiled, and my parents let me do anything I want, including indulge in lots of sugar. So around the age of probably 6 or 7, I started to go to the dentist a lot to correct a lot of that, bad dental health. And I started to notice it more as a profession rather than just a place to go for dental care. When I got into high school, it was a fond memory. And so then when it was time for me to pursue a career in college, that's all I could think of. And so I kept doing things to reassure myself that that's what I wanted to do. And the rest is history.
So did you have a role model? Was there a person of color that you saw that?
There is no one in my family that is in the dental profession. There was no one that I knew of that was a dentist. My dentist growing up was not a Black dentist. And so my idea of what a dentist should look like was solely created in my head, But when I started actually working, when I got into dental school, I was approached by older mentors, Black dentists that were out there. And so then I was even more motivated to impress them or even carry the torch.
It's like they give you this gift of responsibility, right? And accountability.
Exactly.
And look what you've done.
Exactly.
That's awesome. But I really want to know the struggle because we can sit here and talk about the amazing and the success that you have, but we all know that it comes with a struggle.
Yeah.
And I want to shine light on that. And if you could share a story of maybe, when you knew that you were different or when you were going to have to work harder for your career or anything you can share with us.
Funny enough, I didn't get accepted my first time into dental school. And I was actually told, in undergrad, there's this thing where you go through pre-medical program, pre-dental program, and they sort of set up these mock interviews to kind of help you with that interviewing process so that they can help facilitate you from undergrad into graduate school. So I turned in my mock interview paperwork, and there was a receptionist at the desk of the pre-dental office. Without even looking at my paperwork, she just was like, well, you should probably pick something else. You're probably not going to be a dentist. So I would encourage you to consider other fields. And she literally crushed my dream right then and there.
Wow.
And I don't even know if this woman still works there. I don't even remember her name, but I do remember that day and how heartbreaking it was. I literally took off running out of the office. I ran to the east side of the science building and I sat in the last stall in the bathroom and I just cried for about an hour. And then I realized, okay, I'm either going to make her right or I'm going to stop at anything to prove her wrong.
Yeah.
But because I had been such an outstanding student in my district, going back to mentors that were, kind of looking out for other students who wanted to get into dental school, there was a program set up for students who wanted to go into dental school. And the whole program was designed to encourage students in certain underserved districts in Dallas to follow those professional career paths and give them the resources to do that. He actually called my office, Dr. Claude Williams. He is, a very proud staple in the community, especially in the Black community. He called my house, my grandmother's house to be exact, because it was her district. And he's like, I heard there's a little girl there who wants to go to dental school. And my grandma said, yes, there is. And so he was like, do you want to be a part of this program? It's called the Conrad Scholars Program. I enrolled in the program. If I maintained a certain GPA and did, all these XYZ things, they would ensure that I would get a spot in dental school. Yeah. So
that's amazing.
That was my struggle. But had it not been for him, had it not been for my diligence, had it not been for, me not giving up on my dream, I wouldn't be here right now.
That's an amazing story. Yeah. I'm hoping someone is connected to him and can attest to that.
Yeah.
Because I wonder now, is that going on now?
I think it is.
It is? Can you talk about it?
I think COVID, you mean the Conrad program?
Yeah, or just the effort that this man took to pour into you. Like, yes. Is this happening even now?
Absolutely. I mentor students all the time. They come to the office, they shadow me. I know what that meant for me. So when they reach out to me, I make every effort to stop what I'm doing and email them back or call them back or set up a meeting because they need to see that. You know what I mean? You get told so many times throughout your life that you just may not be good enough.
Right.
Or you just may not deserve to be here. And so if they can see me and whatever viewpoint they hold me in, they need to at least see me, if nothing else, encourage them to keep going forth. Because I can't do this forever, but I don't want to let it die without sharing it with someone who really wants to be here too.
I love that. What a spirit. That's amazing. But that's when I met you, I'm like, oh my God, she's just salt to the earth. I can feel that energy, as I mentioned. And, for me too, I wonder, I guess, in the conversation, like, while you're in your practice, your everyday, a lot of people are just really working in the business, not on the business.
Yeah.
Do you ever have a moment where you can sit back and say, this isn't right? This is still some, you know what I mean? There's some stuff that still has some disparities.
Yes.
Or can you talk about what those are?
Absolutely. So in my community, it's a suburb, right? And so a lot of the people there are working class individuals, middle class. They have jobs that have provided them benefits that they want to use. And so as a provider, they want to bring those benefits to my office. There are insurance companies who will pay higher fees in certain zip codes and lower fees in other zip codes. Why that is, I have no idea. We can throw out some hints as to see why, but those are disparities within a certain community that they don't even know exist.
Right.
So let's say, for example, you need a cleaning and you come to my office and let's say that insurance pays only, $100 toward that cleaning. Where if you go another 10 miles up the road to an affluent zip code and you bill for a cleaning, they're going to pay $175. So that affects me as a business owner because even though cost of business affects every business in general nationwide, I'm not getting any increased fees to sustain my cost of business, my overhead. So now what is that going to force me to do? Maybe consider dropping some insurance plans, but now that completely denies, a lot of population in my community access to that healthcare. So,
wow. Yeah. So how do we change that? I mean, do we talk about it? Or, mean, this thing seems like a huge...
Organized
something
dentistry.
To take on, right?
Right. Organized dentistry. Us as dentists have to band together to say, hey, insurance companies, you can't do that. We have, overhead and expense and costs that we need to sustain to run our business successfully. So this, all 150 of us, all 200 of us within this mile radius are, encouraging you or demanding that you increase your fees for these patients.
Do you ever, does it ever like a lobby conversation to the state? Like, is there?
It's definitely, it starts grassroots locally. We lobby for it in DC and those lobbyists have to take it the rest of the way. You don't see a lot of change almost instantaneously, but you see it in gradual scoops, you know.
Right.
But as soon as you stop lobbying, you lose momentum. So you do. It's a constant push.
Yeah,
forward.
once you're committed, you have to kind of take it to the end,
Yeah.
and the marathon continues, right?
Exactly, because every legislation changes with every incoming president or Senate, you know, or House. It's always constantly evolving. So it can be good one year, and then the next 4
Right.
years it drops down again, and then it goes back up again. So
It's so sad, right?
Yeah,
because
it
we
is.
probably can get a lot of things done really fast without systems like that and the red tape.
exactly.
So let me ask you this from the patient's perspective. Do you feel that in the Black community that a lot of your surrounding neighbors, are they investing in their teeth and in health? Is there still like not lack of knowledge, or what does that look like in the barriers for your actual patients?
Yes, I agree. One of the things I do in my practice is educate. I tell my staff to educate my assistants, my hygienists, even myself, because we don't consider preventative care as health care. We consider preventative care, and then there's health care. I usually try to take a minute to explain to my patients a lot of the things that they're doing that's contributing to their overall dental health. I think there's just a lack of information. I think people don't see the value in information anymore because we all want to adopt, you know, Western medicine, and we want a magic pill. But I often sit down and talk to my patients about how their mouth is their portal to their body, you know, and
Yeah.
everything that they put in their body is going to not only affect their teeth, but the rest of their health. So I'm constantly, every 6 months, getting on them about changing their habits. What are you consuming? What are you eating? Even the prescription medications that they get, there's a whole brown bag special of them, and all of them almost always lead to severe rampant decay, gum disease, dry mouth, and then I tell them all the time, this is constantly making you chase your tail on dental work. Now it's becoming more and more expensive for you to maintain your dental care because of all the other things that you're combating as
Right.
far as side effects. So information is the key to everything, but in the same side of that, every patient has to be ready to receive it. So what I also tell the patients is, you know, you may not get it this first round of 6 months, but you may not get it the next one. But you're going to hear it from me every single time you come here. And what I want you to do is think about it, you know, the week before, like, oh, God,
Here she
Dr. Brown's
goes,
going to
right.
ask me again,
Right,
you
right.
know. But my intention is that I care about you, and I don't want you to pay all my bills by yourself. I want
Yeah.
you to correct the habits, fix the problem, have happy visits with me, and then go tell 10 other people so that I can help them do the same.
Right. So for me growing up, my story is similar to yours. Like I had every tooth filled when I was like 5 and 6, right? So the same thing happened in the Black community, it's happening in the Hispanic community. Every time I see a kid with a soda, I'm like, oh my gosh. But I did want to talk about how for me growing up, taking care of your teeth was a luxury. That was for
Yep.
the haves and not the have-nots.
Yep.
And I don't know, do you still think that's a thing?
Yes, I still think that's a thing because, again, I'm in a suburb. I'm in a middle class area. They're not, you know, super, super rich, but they're not, you know, below the poverty
Sure.
line either. But I also think people assume that if you don't have dental insurance, you can't go to the dentist or you can't, you know, take care of your teeth. Oral health is just not an option. It's a luxury. But on the flip side of that, we haven't been the best about going out and reaching out to those people on their level, meeting them on their level and saying, hey, you may not have dental insurance, but this is something affordable that you can do regularly enough for yourself that it doesn't have to be a luxury. Because when you think of luxuries, we include that in the, you know, buying a $1,200 purse,
Right.
or an $80,000 car,
Right.
you know, or spending, you know, $5 a day on fast food. Those are luxuries, you know what I mean?
Right.
Those are things that we can actually, you know, decrease our value in and put more value in our healthcare. So
Yeah.
it's just a change of perception. It's just a community effort to change the way we think about it. But
The
you're
mindset, right?
Yeah, change the mindset.
I mean, when I go home and I've told my family, oh, I've got my teeth white, and they're like, oh, that's a luxury, right?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean? And I'm thinking, the fact that my parents never told me to go brush my teeth, like, it's
Yeah.
still just mind-boggling, right?
Yeah.
But how do we? It starts with the kids too. I know, definitely there.
It starts with the children.
Do you feel there's an opportunity? I notice a lot of changes with in the field after interviewing people on how we're serving, like even the medical institutions, like a holistic health, where they're doing like your hormone therapy, everyone's coming
Right.
together. Do you feel like that you're in your field? Is there going to be a shift on how you guys operate your office and all that stuff?
I sure
too?
hope so. I like the idea of holistic health. I truly do, because when you think about treating the whole patient instead of just the symptoms, you actually get a greater health
Yes.
benefit. Because before, you can go into any dental office, and a lot of dentists aren't very personal and social. They're not very engaging. And that's okay. You know, for 50 years, that's been kind of the norm. You walk in with your big white coat and you point and you look around and you say, okay, you need these many things, and you walk out of the room. You leave the patient no room to ask questions. You leave the patients no room to understand cause, effect, even probability that this can continue to happen. So with holistic approaches, now we're talking about, okay, why do you behave the way you do? You know, what is it about your lifestyle that can be improved, that can also help dentally? You know, you start kind of getting them more involved in including their oral health as a part of their whole day-to-day well-being.
Right.
So I hope dentistry adopts that as a form of practice. It's not to say that I don't believe in Western medicine or modern medicine or science, because in acute phases, those are life-savable things, but we can't go on, you know, managing these chronic illnesses and not actually giving a cure for them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you, how do you practice your self-care for yourself? Like, how do you get out of that? You know, for us, like women and people in these roles, I mean, sometimes we lack our own self-care, right? Because we're pouring in. How do you pour into yourself?
Oh, I do it every single day. First of all, I started doing it, you know, early in my adult years, especially when I started working and my responsibilities increased. I felt the need to increase my chances of being able to see my dreams come true. And the saying is real, you know, your health is your wealth. And so if I'm not here to see it happen or to make sure it happens, then it's not worth me even pursuing. So I started reading more self-help and motivational books. I encourage healthy relationships. I adopted a more, you know, wholesome and nutritional diet. And I practice those things daily. You know what I mean? I don't, when I go to the store and shop for food, I bypass everything in a box or a can, and I spend a lot of time in the produce area.
That's a good sort of your boundaries, right? Like, it's a box and a can. I can't do it.
If it comes in a box and a can, I don't really consume it, especially during the week, you know. I pride myself on having perfect attendance at work. Like, even at school, I wanted that perfect attendance award every year, but you can't have that if you're not taking good care of yourself. And that's not to say that some people don't have instances where they just have ailments that plague them. But if there's anything I can do about it, anything I can, you know, manage, I put every effort forward to do that. Get good sleep at night, you know, try to release toxic energy, you know, focus on meditating. You know, you don't have to be super spiritual, but you do need to practice self-awareness.
Absolutely.
And so that's one of the things that I do too.
Well, I'm even more of a big fan of yours. Like, this is incredible. And I totally appreciate your time. And I love the work that you're doing. I can't wait for people to hear more of your story through our series and how we can support you. And thank you for your work that you're doing
Thank you.
in your community. And thanks for joining us today.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. It was my pleasure.